Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess, and today I have a quiz for you on battles in the lead up, during, and post World War II. So, do you know your history from that time? Let's find out. What was the name of the war between Japan and China that started in 1937? Second Sino-Japanese War, First Sino-Japanese War, or Manchurian conflict? Second Sino-Japanese War. The Spanish Civil War, 1936-39, was seen as a testing ground for which two countries' military strategies, Germany and Italy, United States and Japan, or France and Britain? Germany and Italy. What was the first country invaded by Germany in 1939? Czechoslovakia, Poland, or Austria? Poland. What event in 1931 marked the beginning of Japanese expansion in East Asia? The invasion of the Philippines, the Manchurian Incident, or the Battle of Shanghai? The Manchurian Incident. What battle in 1937 saw large-scale urban warfare between China and Japan? Battle of Hong Kong, Battle of Shanghai, or Battle of Nanking? Battle of Shanghai. The 1939 Soviet-Japanese border conflicts took place primarily in which region? Manchuria, Mongolia, or Korea? Manchuria. What agreement between Germany and the Soviet Union secretly divided Eastern Europe? Treaty of Versailles, Munich Agreement, or Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Which 1938 crisis led to Germany's annexation of Austria? Sudetenland Crisis, Anschluss, or Munich Crisis? The Anschluss. What battle in 1939 saw the Soviets defeat Japanese forces in Mongolia? Battle of Kharkhin Gol, Battle of Mukden, or Battle of Nomakhan? Battle of Kharkhin Gol. Which European country was invaded by Italy in 1935, showing the League of Nations weakness? Albania, Ethiopia, or Libya? Ethiopia. The Spanish Civil War saw Francisco Franco backed by two fascist leaders, Stalin and Chamberlain, Mussolini and Hitler, or Roosevelt and Churchill? Mussolini and Hitler. What was the name of the German bombing campaign in Spain during the Spanish Civil War? Operation Barbarossa, the Blitz, or bombing of Guernica? Bombing of Guernica. Which treaty forced Germany to disarm after World War I but was later ignored? The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, Treaty of Versailles, or Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact? Treaty of Versailles. What did Germany and Italy's intervention in the Spanish Civil War help them to test? Tank warfare and air combat, naval strategy, or chemical weapons? Tank warfare and air combat. What country did Japan invade in 1931, leading to its withdrawal from the League of Nations? Korea, Manchuria, or Mongolia? Manchuria. What was the name of the German strategy that involved swift, overwhelming attacks? Trench warfare, blitzkrieg, or scorched earth? Blitzkrieg. The Munich Agreement of 1938 allowed Hitler to take which region of Czechoslovakia? Sudetenland, Bohemia, or Moravia? Sudetenland. What battle in 1939 marked the first clash between Germany and Poland? Battle of Warsaw, Battle of Danzig, or Battle of Krakow? Battle of Warsaw. What was the code name for Germany's plan to invade Poland? Operation Sea Lion, Operation Full Weiss, or Operation Barbarossa? Operation Full Weiss. What event is considered the first aggressive move of World War II? Japan's invasion of China, Germany's invasion of Poland, or the bombing of Pearl Harbor? Germany's invasion of Poland. Which European country was forced to cede territory to Germany, leading to its occupation in 1939? Austria, Czechoslovakia, or Belgium? Czechoslovakia. The 1935 Nuremberg Laws were a sign of Germany's increasing aggression toward political opponents, Jewish citizens, or British forces. Jewish citizens. What was the primary reason behind Hitler's invasion of Poland? Expansion into German territory, to counter Soviet influence, or to test new weapons? Expansion of German territory. Which nation tried to negotiate peace with Hitler before the war started, but failed? United Kingdom, France, or United States? United Kingdom. The attack on which naval vessel in 1937 led to increased tensions between the US and Japan? USS Panay, USS Arizona, or USS Missouri? USS Panay. What was the main goal of the League of Nations before World War II? To maintain global peace, to increase trade, or to strengthen colonial empires? To maintain global peace. What did the Anti-Comintern Pact signed by Germany, Japan, and Italy oppose? Democracy, capitalism, or communism? Communism. What was the last major war before World War II that involved trench warfare? Russo-Japanese War, World War I, or Spanish Civil War? World War I. What was Japan's military government called during the 1930s? The Shogunate, the Empire of Japan, or the Tokugawa regime? The Empire of Japan. What was the significance of the 1939 Battle of Finland Winter War? It pushed Germany back, it marked Finland's entrance into World War II, or it showed weakness of Soviet forces. It showed weakness of Soviet forces. What was a major flaw in the Maginot Line in France? It was too expensive, it was built in the wrong location, it lacked air defences. It was built in the wrong location. Which agreement in the 1930s allowed Hitler to rebuild Germany's military? Washington Naval Treaty, Munich Agreement, or Anglo-German Naval Agreement? Anglo-German Naval Agreement. What European country was taken over by Hitler without a single shot fired? Austria, Poland, or France? Austria. What event led directly to Britain and France declaring war on Germany? The annexation of Austria, the invasion of Czechoslovakia, or the invasion of Poland? The invasion of Poland. What was the first major battle between Germany and the Allies in World War II? Battle of the Bulge, Battle of Britain, or Battle of Dunkirk? Battle of Dunkirk. What country was the first to resist Germany's expansion? France, Poland, or Norway? Poland. Which leader attempted to appease Hitler in the 1930s? Neville Chamberlain, Franklin D. Roosevelt, or Winston Churchill? Neville Chamberlain. What did the US do in response to Japan's invasion of China? Imposed economic sanctions, declared war, or sent troops to China? Imposed economic sanctions. Which event signalled that World War II was inevitable? Germany's invasion of Poland, Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, or Italy's invasion of Albania? Germany's invasion of Poland. What policy did the Allies use to avoid war with Germany before 1939? Appeasement, total war, or isolationism? Appeasement. What was the code name for the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941? Operation Market Garden, Operation Barbarossa, or Operation Sea Lion? Operation Barbarossa. The Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy was crucial for which Allied campaign? The liberation of France, the Italian campaign, or the Battle of the Bulge? The Italian campaign. Which battle in 1942 marked the turning point to the war in the Pacific? Battle of Midway, Battle of Iwo Jima, or Battle of Coral Sea? Battle of Midway. The siege of Leningrad lasted for how many days? 872 days, 500 days, or 1004 days? 872 days. Which battle in 1944 was the largest tank battle of World War II? Battle of Kursk, Battle of El Alamein, or Battle of the Bulge? Battle of Kursk. What was the last major German offensive of the war? Battle of Stalingrad, Battle of the Bulge, or Battle of Anzio? Battle of the Bulge. The Kodaker track campaign was fought between Japan and which Allied force? United States, Australia, or Britain? Australia. The Battle of Narva was a significant fight between the Soviet Union and which country? Italy, Estonia, or Japan? Estonia. Which operation was the first airborne invasion by the US during World War II? Operation Husky, Operation Overlord, or Operation Torch? Operation Husky. The Warsaw Uprising in 1944 was an attempt to liberate the city from which army? Germans, Soviets, or Italians? Germans. What was the main German military strategy used in early World War II? Blitzkrieg, trench warfare, or scorched earth? Blitzkrieg. What was the purpose of the Maginot Line in France? To defend against a German invasion, to launch an attack on Germany, or to protect Britain? To defend against a German invasion. Which intelligence organisation helped break the Enigma code? MI6, Bletchley Park, or OSS? Bletchley Park. What was the code name for the Allied invasion of Normandy? Operation Torch, Operation Overlord, or Operation Barbarossa? Operation Overlord. What was the significance of the Manhattan Project? It developed atomic bombs, it was the US spy operation, or it was a naval blockade? It developed atomic bombs. The Soviet Union's counterattack strategy against Germany was called what? Operation Bagration, Operation Dynamo, or Operation Avalanche? Operation Bagration. What was the name of Germany's most feared tank during World War II? Panzer III, Tiger I, or Sherman? Tiger I. The M1 Garand was the standard rifle for which country's army? Germany, United States, or Japan? It was the United States. What type of bombers were used in the firebombing of Dresden? Lancaster bombers, Stukas, or Messerschmitts? Lancaster bombers. What was the primary sidearm used by German officers? Colt 1911, Luger P08, or Nambu Type 14? Luger P08. The Japanese Zero fighter plane was mainly used for bombing attacks, air-to-air combat, or ground attacks. Air-to-air combat. What was the name of the German rocket-propelled missile? V-1 flying bomb, Stuka, or MG-42? V-1 flying bomb. The Soviet PPSH-41 was primarily used for sniper operations, close quarters combat, or naval battles. Close quarters combat. What aircraft carrier battle in 1942 was the first where opposing ships never directly fired upon each other? Battle of Midway, Battle of the Coral Sea, or Battle of Leyte Gulf? Battle of the Coral Sea. The German U-boat campaign primarily targeted which type of vessel? Warships, merchant ships, or battleships? Merchant ships. Which British battleship was sunk by the German Bismarck? HMS Repulse, HMS Hood, or HMS Victory? HMS Hood. What was Japan's infamous suicide attack strategy called? Blitzkrieg, kamikaze, or night raids? Kamikaze. Which battle was the largest naval battle in history? Battle of the Atlantic, Battle of Leyte Gulf, or Battle of Jutland? Battle of Leyte Gulf. What was the code name for the air battle between Britain and Germany in 1940? Battle of Britain, Battle of the Bulge, or Battle of Stalingrad? Battle of Britain. Which organisation was founded in 1949 as a military alliance against Soviet expansion? NATO, Warsaw Pact, or United Nations? NATO. What military tribunal was held to prosecute Nazi war crimes? Geneva Convention, Nuremberg Trials, or Potsdam Conference? Nuremberg Trials. What was the key result of World War II on modern warfare? Introduction of nuclear weapons, return to trench warfare, or larger use of cavalry? Introduction of nuclear weapons. The Geneva Conventions were revised post-World War II to address air warfare regulations, humanitarian treatment of soldiers, or naval warfare strategies. Humanitarian treatment of soldiers. What was the Warsaw Pact? A trade agreement, a peace treaty, or a Soviet military alliance? A Soviet military alliance. What was the main reason for demilitarization in Japan after World War II? Japan's economy was failing, US occupation forced it, or Japanese citizens protested? US occupation forced it. The Cold War was largely as a result of tensions between Germany and France, the US and the Soviet Union, or Britain and Japan. The US and the Soviet Union. What impact did World War II have on colonial empires? Decolonialization of Africa and Asia, expanded European empires, or strengthened imperial rule? Decolonialization of Africa and Asia. What military technology developed in World War II became crucial in the Cold War? Tanks, nuclear weapons, or flamethrowers? Nuclear weapons. What post-World War II plan aimed to rebuild European economies? The Marshall Plan, the Truman Doctrine, or the Bretton Woods Agreement? The Marshall Plan. What was one lasting effect of World War II on global warfare? Increased use of chemical weapons, shift to mechanized and nuclear warfare, or expansion of trench warfare? Shift to mechanized and nuclear weapon warfare. What was the impact of World War II on Israel's establishment? It led to the creation of Israel in 1948, it resulted in Britain controlling Palestine, or it stopped Jewish migration to Middle East. It led to the creation of Israel in 1948. What military tactic became dominant during the Cold War? Trench warfare, nuclear deterrence, or cavalry charges? Nuclear deterrence. How did the Korean War 1950 to 1953 reflect changes in post-World War II battles? First War fought under the United Nations, it used trench warfare, or was fought mainly with swords? First War fought under the United Nations. What was the first major war that used helicopters extensively? The Vietnam War, the Gulf War, or the Falklands War? The Vietnam War. Which battle in the Vietnam War showcased guerrilla warfare tactics? Battle of Stalingrad, Battle of Dien Bien Phu, or Battle of Normandy? Battle of Dien Bien Phu. What was a major military development during the Cold War? The rise of naval warfare, the submarines and missiles use, or the return of cavalry divisions? The use of submarines and missiles. What was the main military doctrine of the US during the Cold War? Blitzkrieg, trench warfare, or mutually assured destruction? MAD. Mutually assured destruction, MAD. How did intelligence against agencies change warfare post-World War II? Key role in proxy wars as espionage, they focused only on criminal investigations or they stopped being relevant. Key role in proxy wars and espionage. What was the battle during the Falklands War that highlighted the importance of naval warfare? Battle of Okinawa, Battle of Goose Green, or Battle of Ypres? Battle of Goose Green. Which event in 1945 marked the official end of World War II? The signing of the Treaty of Versailles, bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or the unconditional surrender of Germany? The unconditional surrender of Germany. What major political change occurred in Germany after World War II? The formation of the German Empire, divided into East and West Germany, or it became part of the Soviet Union? It was divided into East and West Germany. Which Asian country gained independence from Britain in 1947 following World War II? China, Japan, or India? India. What was the primary purpose of the Nuremberg trials after World War II? To provide reparations to the victims of the war, establish new international borders, or prosecute Nazi leaders for war crimes? Prosecute Nazi leaders for war crimes. Which country occupied Japan after World War II, overseeing its reconstruction and demilitarization? The United States, the Soviet Union, or China? The United States. In what year did the first atomic bomb test take place, setting the stage for the Cold War? 1949, 1945, or 1950? 1949. What was the impact of the Potsdam Conference in 1945? Division of Germany into occupation zones, it created the United Nations, or the re-establishment of Germany as a unified state? Division of Germany into occupation zones. Which Eastern European country was the first to adopt communism after World War II with Soviet support? Albania, Hungary, or Poland? Albania. In 1946, which Asian nation experienced a violent uprising against colonial rule, marking the beginning of its independence movement? Indonesia, India, or Vietnam? Indonesia. What was the name of the covert operation launched by the United States in 1947 to prevent the spread of communism? Operation Paperclip, the Truman Doctrine, or Operation Overlord? The Truman Doctrine. And your last one, which European country devastated by World War II became a founding member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in 1949? Belgium, Italy, or Spain? That was Italy. So, how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below and, of course, like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.